Now, some of these risk factors you may notice are modifiable and others not so much. The first ones that are listed, the first two are non-modifiable, right? So genetics and family history, that's essentially non-modifiable, which means it's something you can't do nothing about that. You can't modify it, right? Our family history and genetics is what it is. Now, I wanted to write, because I wrote in parentheses here, I wanted to use my community as an example and talk about how it relates to gene expression. So, one of the things we talk about is a theory that ties back to slavery for, black folks, and how the conditions that were conducted in slavery, how that may have modified gene expression, not so much DNA coding, gene expression such as the way that we're able to manage stress. Because you can imagine in an environment such as slavery, you can imagine that it was, this is putting it lightly, right? This is putting it very nicely, but stressful. Now, some of y'all may know our bodies have ways of releasing cortisol, which is supposed to be, supposed to help us manage stress. In instances of slavery, that made it much more difficult for us to be able to release cortisol and to manage the stress that was brought upon, people. So, and it just passed down through generations. Males develop atherosclerosis usually at a faster rate than females. However, females who have hit menopause already, they can be more at risk. Obesity, right? It's a direct proportionate relationship. However, LMHR, that could also apply here too. What that stands for is lean mass hyperrespondence. But see, now the thing is, they could be, lean, right, as a result of them working out and, the things that they eat. But lean mass hyperrespondence typically tend to be associated with diets that are more ketogenic or just lower carb in general. Then the next thing is physical activity, right? Inactivity, I should say. So physical inactivity is a risk factor. Hyperglycemia, which means, you have your glycemic levels are pretty high, right? So that can, the reason why that's a contributing factor for atherosclerosis is because hyperglycemia can essentially damage blood vessel linings. I wrote cigarette smoking. When you smoke cigarettes, it hinders your body's production of nitric oxide. It can constrict your blood vessels, damage the lining of them. The last one I wrote was hypertension and dyslipidemia. For obvious reasons, dyslipidemia is basically, it's when your cholesterol is high, but specifically LDL, right? That's what the focus is. Then you have hypertension, right? Hypertension is also something that deals with blood vessels. Hypertension is high blood pressure. So when your blood pressure is high, your body's working, much harder to pump blood. Definitely not going to help your case if you got inflammation that your body is trying to send white blood cells and platelets out to try to repair and fix.